I that is embarrassing. So we're off to a great start, I guess. I love that for me. Okay, so anyway, let me start the introduction all over again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lizard people of all ages, welcome to the annual Weebo Jones YouTube anniversary. The show where everything's made up and the points don't matter and everything falls to shit. Just kidding. Yes, happy anniversary and boomer moment. I am so glad that all of you are here to bear witness to, oh gosh, how many years has it been? Is it 6 years now? 6 years in the making of this. Thank you. Can I have the water, please? All right. Begone, thought. Super Nintendo has given me the nut button. Hello, thank you. Okay, go away. So, has it been 7 years? Has it really been 7 years?
How do you not know how long you've been doing this?
So hang on. I started doing this after we started dating. So yeah, it would be 7 years this year. Right? Hang on, I need a calculator.
She's doing trigonometry.
2023 minus 2016. You know, I went to college and yeah, it has been 7 years exactly today that I opened this account. And everything started. Everything began. Actually, no, I think my first video was not the same day that I opened this account. It was a few months later. I think it was just before I graduated high school. Yep, just before I graduated high school. So like I was telling myself, because no one could hear me, I have absolutely nothing planned. I totally forgot that it was going to be my YouTube anniversary, which is funny because the next 6 minutes for his YouTube anniversary a couple months ago reminded me of this, that this was coming up. And so I put it in my calendar and I was like, oh, I'll totally remember beforehand because, you know, the calendar. And so it was in my calendar. And then it didn't register in my head that it was coming up until yesterday afternoon when I got the alert that, hey, by the way, in like 12 hours, you have an anniversary coming up. And I'm like, oh, shit. I didn't do anything. I didn't plan at all. There has been no preparatory angst that went into any of this. So here we are. And we can reminisce. Yeah. To all 15 of you, thank you for coming. Thank you for showing up. It has been an interesting, wild ride of topsy-turvy ups and downies. But I have certainly enjoyed it, and I will continue to enjoy it for years and years to come. Although, not every year will we have as spectacular a... Can you stop staring at me? I can't perform when you're staring directly at me from the doorway. It's awkward as hell. Anyway. I totally just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Super Nintendo creating difficulties in my life as usual. Love you. So yeah, I have no plan. Really, I am at the behest of the viewers. We can have a chat. We can play a game. We can have people guest. You know what I tried to do? You know what I thought would be a fun idea, but I couldn't get it to work because I couldn't figure out how to use voice meter is. I thought maybe we could do like call-ins in the Discord. So you guys could just kind of pop in and we could hang out and talk. And reminisce about the past or what have you. But I couldn't get the Discord audio and my microphone audio to both simultaneously cast to StreamYards. So we ended up not being able to do that, which is why I was late. It's because I was having audio issues beyond what you all witnessed when I initially popped in here, which was embarrassing, but part and parcel. Part and parcel. I'm shit at live streaming, but video editing, oh, that is my motif, my mode. It's a good time. Do you need me to fix your audio stuff? Hey, if you can figure out how to get Voicemeeter to work for me in such a way as it it routes Discord audio or just like desktop audio in general through itself along with my microphone, and I can just kind of cast it to StreamYards, I'm all ears if you have like a quick and dirty way of doing that. Otherwise, we could play a game. I have Steam booted up and a few games installed. You can watch me hang out with my Sims, or we could watch a video together. We could watch several videos together. We could watch my backlog, which is I think what we did last year, but I don't know. That seems played. Or what we could do is we could watch completely brand new content and react to it live. Stuff that would absolutely drive me bonkers insane. So. Cryptic says I need to upgrade to a 490 for 100 for 15 for $1,500. Yeah, solves everything. Are we talking graphics cards? Is that what we're alluding to? Because that's the only numbers that would make sense to me. The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Anyway, I guess I could give an update about how life's been. Let's see. Since the last update, since the last video upload, I guess, which was all the way back in December. No, January. Oh my gosh. I'm going crazy. Since January, I have been working on a video. Oh no. Oh no. What did Far send in the chat? Okay, before I address that, before I get distracted, since the last video upload, I have been working on the Valentine's Day video. It'll be out. It is projected to be out on Valentine's Day. If it isn't, I'm going to publicly flog myself because I've had a month and a half to work on this bad boy, and it's just I have no excuse. I have no excuse for why it wouldn't come out on the 14th of February. So yeah, I'm gonna hunker down and work on that this weekend. It's gonna be great. It'll be a fantastic, wonderful thought piece. With all of the bells and whistles that you could possibly want. What is the Valentine's Day video? So I'm thinking about doing like a recurring series similar to the Halloween special, except it is geared towards relationships. So it would obviously be like an annual Valentine's Day video where basically I just talk about relationships and like the most pressing issue that I wanted to or a pressing issue facing relationships and modern relationships in the current day that I see prominent in the world, that I think I can like break down and dissect and get to the root cause of, and maybe provide some advice based off of my own experience, science literature that supports the facts that I am bringing to the table, and some conclusions that I'm drawing based off of like all of the information that I'm presenting to you. Because I do think that there is a crisis that we as a people, as a society, are facing in today's world that has to do with not just like romantic relationships, but interpersonal relationships in general. I think we've lost the plot significantly. So I am doing a recurring series. I don't know if it's going to be once a year or if I can like amp it up to more than once a year. It'll be something along the lines of the series will kind of be like the absolute state of relationships, ongoing series. This current one will have to do with. Actually, I don't think I want to say. I don't think I want to give it away. I think I want to let it be a surprise because, yeah, I'm going to let it be a surprise. But yeah, there are a plethora of shenanigans out there for me to cover regarding relationships, and I think that I can do a very good job about them because, hi, hello, I happen to be in a relationship, and I've been at it for a while now, and somehow he hasn't left me yet. Right, babe? Oh no, he's in the other room. I think. I hope. How many people know their neighbors? I think people. Marcin Johansson says, I think people keep more to themselves now IRL than their avatar online. More than their avatar online. I think that's part of the issue. That's like one of many aspects of what's going on here. I think it's obviously multifaceted, as everything is. There's no simple solution. But there is a way to kind of boil down the problem and identify exactly what the heart of any specific individual issue can be, and then how to improve upon it. Am I making sense? I feel like I'm not making sense in my own head. Or I feel like I'm not articulating exactly what it is that I intend to in a way that's cohesive for you, the audience. And I feel like I do that a lot. So if I start rambling and it makes no sense, yell at me. Please, chat. Yes, silence. So that's coming up. That'll be the Valentine's Day video. I am still working on another hashtag everything sexist, but that did get put on the back burner because it became more of an undertaking than I originally intended it to be. And that's usually how these videos start out, is like, oh, I have like an inkling of an idea. Some spontaneous inspiration for what it is that I want to talk about. And then I start to look into it, and it's like a rabbit hole, and I just keep going down the rabbit hole, and it never ends. And so at some point, I just have to kind of like find a cutoff and go, okay. But it has to be clean. It has to make sense. And it doesn't always make sense unless I go deeper or unless I just drastically reduce the amount of content that I'm actually covering. So I have an Everything is Sexist video coming out after the Valentine's Day video. I don't have a prospective release date on that. It'll probably be sometime in late March, early April, probably before my birthday. My birthday is early April. So before my birthday, if I can swing it. So that'll be the thing. And these are more passion projects for me than they are anything else. If I wanted to get big on YouTube and be like one of the big YouTubers who does all of the fun things and like gets all of the views and gets on all of the interviews and like covers all of the hot and trending topics, I could very easily do that. I just don't have any heart to do it in the way that people do it today, because I feel like they don't do it completely. What I mean by that is like they just do a very surface level coverage. They tell you what you want to hear or what'll piss you off the most, and then that's it. They don't go into the nuances. They don't make any effort to understand it themselves and explain why X might equal Y, or why this, that, and the other thing might exist. And I think that's part of the issue that we as a society is also facing these days, is because we are looking for the easy, fast, loose, and dirty internet gratification of, oh, we're being validated. And I don't like that. And as I get older, as I mature, I very much become more disheartened with the kind of content that I'm seeing en masse perpetuate the internet. And it does piss me off, I'm not gonna lie. And I disagree with a lot of people on both sides of every issue, because I'm like, but okay, but hang on, but don't you? I feel like I'm always perpetually playing the devil's advocate in my own head. Like, for instance, actually, the most recent issue where this came up was with my last video, the trans period video. I was being very specific in my point with that video, which was simply this: hey, trans women can still experience symptoms of what is similar to uh, what a woman experiences when they're PMSing or postmenopausal on HRT, like what a menopausal woman would experience when she's on HRT after all of the lady hormones down here stop working the way that they're supposed to be. I've never been on menopause, so I don't know these for a fact, but I know what it feels like to be PMSing, and PMSing is not the same thing as being on your period. They're very different phases in the cycle. But when I was making the point, I was like, okay, period is literally just one thing. It is exactly this. It is the shedding of the endometrium. That's all it is. So calling anything else a period, calling symptoms a period, is inaccurate. And I made that point and I posted about it on Twitter and I got some flack for it. And I think I very barely got called a TERF by Sophane. Very, 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 very smidgenly. Because I made some allusions to toxic trans ideologies. And they're like, so what's a toxic trans ideology? And I made that case. And then just recently, more recently actually, recently, Ranting Monkey made a post on Twitter in response to a TikToker, I believe, a TikTok trans woman who was experiencing PMS symptoms and was addressing the trans period issue. And while she very specifically made the case that, hey, or she's very specifically made a point to say, I'm not bleeding, I don't have a uterus, etc., etc., she went on to clarify, hey, I have all of these other symptoms, probably as a result of the HRT that I'm on. And so, like I said, there is some validation to having those symptoms. I mean, psychosomatic? Is it psychosomatic? Phantom symptoms are legit a thing, but I don't think that they're phantom at this point. I think that you can get symptoms like bloating, you can get bloating and not be on your period. That's like totally legit. But you can get a whole bunch of other symptoms that are similar to PMS. It's not that you have PMS, but it's symptom. It's similar. So they don't have an actual name to call it. And at this juncture, maybe they should come up with another name for it. Maybe they don't need to. I don't know. That's a completely separate discussion to have, but that's what they're calling it because that's the closest thing that they have to what it is that they're experiencing. I don't even think menopausal women necessarily experience PMS so much as they do probably experience like a completely different. Well, no, they might be similar symptoms, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're PMS because they're premenstrual symptoms, so they wouldn't be PMS, but they would be. You'd have to name it something else for everyone to be satisfied, I feel like. Anyway, sorry. I'm off topic. The point that I'm trying to make is like people have valid points on both sides, and I think we can acknowledge that without completely giving all the ground to the opposing side of whatever argument that we're on. I think it's disingenuous to not cede any ground whatsoever. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice by digging your heels in and not granting anyone any grace. Not grace. There's a word that I'm specifically looking for to use in this situation. Not granting anyone any, is it leeway? I feel like it's leeway. You're not granting anyone leeway to be right on one point but wrong in their argument. If that makes sense. Anyway, so that was just like an example of what it is that I'm going for here, is to give the both sides argument like the filthy fence sitter that I happen to be. But not actually, because I do have a position on these topics, but I think that they are generally more nuanced, better thought out, and well intended than many other people's positions purported online that I see. Wiggle room? I don't know if it would be wiggle room. Because, like, okay, so have you ever been in a conversation with a person and you're like, I'm right, you're wrong, that's the end of it. I don't care whatever else it is that you have to say. But, like, some of their points are valid, but you don't want to give them that because you're just so stuck and rooted in your own being rightness that you refuse to cede any ground whatsoever. That's where I think that people have the most issues is because is they, for whatever reason, have so much of, is it ego? Maybe it's ego. Maybe it's just a fear ingrained in them that if they give any ground, then they lose the whole argument. I don't know. Like, I'll have conversations with Super Nintendo, right? Conversations. He'll call them arguments. I call them conversations, but who cares? So we'll have conversations, and midway through the argument, I realize he's making a valid point, but like I'm like, if I admit defeat, then he wins. And so, in early on when we moved in together at first, I dug my heels in and I'm like, I'm not gonna admit that. No, fuck that. I can't do that. No, because then I lose the argument. And what I found is that doesn't help. That doesn't help at all. When we conversate, the other person, if you approach conversations like they're negotiations between the two parties, if you approach a conversation like it's a negotiation between the two parties, you're trying to bring the other person to your side. You necessarily have to make them feel like they're being heard. And how you do that is you do have to kind of set aside your pride and acknowledge where it is that they're emphatically right. Even if you don't want to, even if you hate their guts, even if your ego dictates that this is counterproductive to, or not counterproductive, but get counter to every fiber of my being. Accusations. That works. You necessarily have to cede ground to the opposing party in order to make them feel heard. So someone comes to you and says, I feel like such and such. Well, a good way to make them feel heard is to acknowledge that they felt that way and make space for it, essentially. Allow for it. Because if they don't feel like they're heard, or if they don't feel like they've been acknowledged, they are very much less likely to listen to you. And I actually got a lot of this kind of pushback in my last video, the trans period ones, specifically with regards to making a point about, hey, you can skip this video if you don't want to hear the grossness that is everything to do with the period. So here's the timestamps, they're listed in the description. And then at the end of the video, I'd made a point to be like, hey, there's this thing called period stigma where people think periods are gross, and that's kind of shitty and it's stupid. So I made space for the people who probably are very much uncomfortable by the concept of the period initially in the video. And then I went, hey, this is an actual thing, and it's pretty wrong. Or it's kind of wrong. This is how it affects women, and this is probably not the best way to go about doing this. So we can do better as a society. Made space for those people who feel a certain type of way about periods. And then I'm like, hey, maybe that's something that we should re-examine. And I got flack for that. They're like, why would you? Why? I got flack from that from period positive people in the comments who were like, hey, why are you giving these people room to essentially stigmatize periods in the beginning of your video? And then later on, you're like, hey, this is a thing. I'm like, because people are less likely to respond to hostility, to respond to the gross out factor, to respond to anything that immediately upfront disregards the way that they're interacting with a topic or concerned with a topic immediately if you come at them with like a punch to the face about it. But if you acknowledge it, label it, I think, is the terminology that I used in the actual comment section when I was discussing this. If you label their discomfort, you put a label on it, you acknowledge that it exists, and then you proceed with the rest of your conversation, or in this case, persuasion, I guess, you get their attention and they feel like you're listening to them when really you're trying to get them to listen to you. So that's the logic there, is to not play both sides. Why is my watch not working? Not necessarily play both sides, but get both sides to listen better. Because that's another thing that I think is lacking in the society, is that I don't think people listen to each other as much as they should. I think we do twice as much talking as we do listening, which is ridiculous because we have twice as many ears as we do mouths. That's a Weebo dadism, a Chad dadism right there for you. You should do twice as much listening as you do talking. And you know what? That served me well in my life very frequently. I do a lot of listening. I do. I do a lot of listening in my life. I do. And it's important because we live in a society. We have to, by necessity, interface. We have to interact with other people. We have to get along with them. We have to have some level of cohesion between all of us. And so that means by necessity, we have to engage with them. We have to take their concerns into consideration and make space for them where necessary. And you might not always like it, but that is kind of the way the cookie crumbles. You're not always going to like everything that happens. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't compromise on everything. Now, that also means you shouldn't compromise. Okay, so that doesn't mean that you shouldn't compromise on anything. But conversely, that doesn't mean that you should compromise on everything. You follow? You can assess where necessary and adjust where need be. There is balance. You can find it. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Gosh, this is driving me fucking insane. I just noticed this. Chat, why didn't you tell me my hair was fucky wucky? Life advice from Weebo Jones. The 24-year-old computer scientist who sits alone in her abode most days and just codes. Yep. This is how you talk to people, because I know what I'm doing, right? Okay. Is that better? I feel like that's better. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. So that's another thing that I think is the issue. But I think that that's been the issue. That's been part of the issue for a while now, is that we don't stop and smell the roses. Check out our fellow neighbor, see what he needs. See what's up. At least you learned to code. I did learn to code, and it'll serve me well in the coming AI apocalypse that we're about to engage in. Oh, that's another thing. I've gotten into a bit of trouble recently over my opinions about AI, specifically regarding AI art. And I haven't quite made up my mind on it. Although I do know it's a very complicated issue. Anything AI is actually super complicated. But that's the fascinating part, is that we get to have these lovely little conversations about them. So I don't know if you've been following, ladies and gentlemen, but we're going to redirect the conversation. Recently, not recently, but recently to me, I guess, I've noticed that there has been this big movement on the Twitterverse at the very least, but I think all over the internet, about AI generated art and how it's like the bane of all artist existence. And I've been thinking about it. I'm thinking an awful lot about it. Ooh, my neck. Ooh, that feels good. Sorry, I just needed to do that. So I've been thinking an awful lot about it, and I haven't quite made up my mind about it because I have many thoughts and many feelings about the subject, and I'd love to, in the chat, hear your thoughts about this. Um, because it is complicated. So I guess I'll just do a very stream of consciousness kind of thing. The prevailing issue is a bunch of people, I don't know who they are. Um, they got together, they created an algorithm, and they used training data from artists all over the internet, I guess. Some with permission, some without permission, I'm pretty sure. And they used it to train an AI bot to produce art. Now, um, the controversy is that this AI can like spit out. Well, the controversy. I don't know if that's specifically the controversy. I haven't worked out exactly what is specifically controversial about it. It's many faceted. It's multifaceted from many different artists that I've talked to. But so it is capable of spitting out art pieces that are relatively decent with, some wonky janky exceptions to like some of the details like fingers and what have you. And it's decent looking, realistic looking enough. Not realistic, but it's close enough to something passable as art that you wouldn't know the difference unless it had one of those hallmark issues that like the finger issue where it's got like six fingers instead of the normal five. You wouldn't know unless you knew necessarily. And so it can do this based off of any trading set that you give it. If you name an artist and you go, I want this art to look like this artist's art style, it can do that and it can spit it out in like a super fast amount of time, which scares a lot of people because automation always has. With automation, I mean, we saw this in the Industrial Revolution. People were put out of their normal everyday jobs with the expediency with which innovation churned out the products that they were otherwise producing at home. So, like, the farmers moved from their rural farms to the cities and they started working in the factories to produce the things that the factories had started producing en masse and super fast. Um, Now with automation, you have automation robots essentially doing the job of like a big one has been truckers automating drivers or trucks to drive themselves to and fro across the country so as to remove the trucker from the cab of the truck and not have to have truckers with all of these rules that they're supposed to adhere to. So you take out the human element and you replace it with a robot, and all of a sudden you don't have to um, account for all the human needs like eating, sleeping, breathing, chilling, being paid, etc., etc. Now I know this is like way out in the future, but I mean, automation is a facet that they're attempting to introduce en masse to multiple facets of life. And now art is being one of those instances. Before that, I think music also was being integrated into the AI generation system. I think they were taking like Batman scripts and turning them into AI generated scripts as well, which were always hilarious and fun meme. But now it's getting to be unignorable and it's no longer just a meme and it's no longer just like a distant theory of what could be a dystopian what might happen. Now it's kind of like in your face. It's all over Twitter and people are making a ruckus about it. And I get their concerns because they feel like they're being replaced and they feel like they'll be out of a job, which is terrifying because, a lot of artists use their art to make money. And yeah, that would suck. But in addition to that, a lot of the training data that was used is taken from artists without their permission. Stolen in some cases is what people have told me. And I this is going to be a very controversial opinion. I don't even know that it's a fully formed opinion, but I'm not sure if that counts as stealing. And hear me out before you yell at me. I'm not sure that it counts as stealing because there are many things that are similar to what it is that we are talking about when it comes to AI taking training data and using it to train itself to create and churn out different works from the original process, right? So, if you take something like if I were to take the Mona Lisa and I go, okay, I'm going to take the Mona Lisa, I'm looking at it. I'm not taking it, but I'm looking at the Mona Lisa. And based off the Mona Lisa, I'm going to create something that has kind of the similar vibe to the Mona Lisa, but isn't the Mona Lisa. So not copy it per se, but I'll do it in my own art style, or I'll do it in the same style, but it won't be the Mona Lisa. If I do it, if I take the Mona Lisa and I redraw the Mona Lisa in my own style, does that count as stealing, or is that just me taking inspiration? Now, if I do that and I paint something in the style of Da Vinci but isn't the Mona Lisa, am I stealing Da Vinci's am I stealing from Da Vinci? And I know he's dead, so he doesn't really care. But this is all hypothetical. So I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to talk about this with somebody because I have so many questions and I haven't fully worked out how I feel about this specific issue yet. Um all encompassingly. Um it's crazy to me. And then that also introduced like questions about intellectual property, right? Like how how far does intellectual property protection go before um basically you're just like preventing other people. Like I don't know if you guys read fan fiction. Probably not. I'm probably the only one that does this in the chat of all 19 of us here, 20 of us here. But like fan fiction, and yes, there's a probably barring the profit aspect of the AI art when we have these AI bots making money off of rendered art from other people's data sets, barring that issue. If it was like just making the AI generated art for funsies because that's what fanfiction artists or writers do. They take a intellectual property concept and they rework it into their own kind of headcanon. Now this can be an alternate universe, this can be something that they wished happened, like a sort of wish fulfillment. It can be in self-insert if you want, but it's literally just taking an IP, repurposing it for your own means, and churning it out as like your own work, but still it's paying homage to the original IP because you can't exactly remove the IP. Like a Harry Potter fan fiction will always be a Harry Potter fan fiction, and Harry Potter will always belong to J.K. Rowling. But no one has a problem with really fan fictions except for like maybe 12 authors in all of human history. So I don't know. It's a really complicated concept. And how far does that go? What about like if So I've already addressed if I take the picture and I redraw the picture, or if I take the style and I draw something else in the same style, no one's got a problem with me doing that. I mean, there are copies of the Mona Lisa all over the freaking place, and no one bats an eye about it. Um, I mean, we all know it's not the real Mona Lisa when we're looking at it. That's obvious. Is that the issue? Far says the AI algorithms are fed images to work with. Those images all came from somewhere. They just don't come from nowhere. Right, sure. But the Mona Lisa didn't come from nowhere either. And I'm taking the Mona Lisa as inspiration. And I see in my head the AI, like in my head, I can't remove that. I can't make that distinction between myself and the AI because the AI is being fed data that's basically it taking inspiration from the data that it's being fed. Is it the fact that it lacks a human element that is the issue? I wonder if the AI had a personality, like an actual personality, and it wasn't just an algorithm, but like if it thought and it felt, would it still be an issue? Or is it the fact that it's so completely removed from what it means and is to be a human that is the issue? Farah says, so when you generate an image using AI, it's taking from all the pieces it's been fed and making something from them, but it's not technically creating it itself. Making something from them. Well, so, okay. Everything that I could create, every color that I could put on a piece of paper, right? I am using materials that I did not also create myself, right? So if I build a house, I'm taking elements from some lumber yard. I'm taking piping from the Home Depot. Someone else had to make that. So all of the elements that I use to create this house that I'm building, I'm pulling in from other aspects. Okay, so the AI cannot create art on its own. It requires the input from art that pre-exists, something humans have made. So could a blind person who's never seen anything, who can't see, a blind person who can't see, they sit down, they draw something. Does it still count as art? No, that's not the question that I want to ask. AI cannot create on its own. It requires input from art that pre-exists, something humans have made. Right, but so unless we're talking about a sculptor, I guess, then and a blind person can create art. Like a blind person's never seen anything. Like if a person had never seen and then suddenly they had seen. I don't know. Farah says, I don't find an issue if it's being done with artist permission, but that's the big problem. It's not. Many don't even know that their artwork is in these algorithms to begin with. And I feel like the consent aspect is probably the biggest tipping point for a lot of people. And I get that. I get that a lot, actually. And that issue actually came even more to the forefront when talking about just AI in general, when it came to the most recent controversy with AI that has to do with deepfakes. Using a person's likeness and just plopping their likeness onto a body double, essentially, and doing the sex with the body double, essentially, in a video. Or like a pre-recorded porn, but with someone else's face over one of the actors or actresses in the porn. That was done without people's permission and consent. And it was a very big controversy very recently. You can go look it up, the deepfakes on the Twitterverse. So, yeah. It is a complicating factor. So, if it were just a simple matter of you had the artist's permission to use the thing in the AI training data, then it wouldn't be an issue. At least for far. I don't know about other artists. I feel like some artists have more pressing, bigger picture issues that they aren't happy with AI art about. I don't even mind the AI meme shit where people generate the dumbest things like toddlers playing in lava. I don't think I'd mind that either. I don't know. Because if we start going down that road where you need the consent, I don't know, it's very complicated. Where you need the consent of somebody in order to, like, okay, so every single time, like, a fan artist takes an IP and they make art of it, do they necessarily have the permission of the IP holder to make art of their IP? Do they need that? Should they ask for it? Do they have a right to do that? Is it fair use? I don't know. It's so sketchy, and I don't have a right answer for this. How do you even legislate that? This whole conversation is so crazy to me, but I like having it, and I feel like it's necessary to have it again and again and again until we come to some sort of, like, not a consensus, but like an awareness, a comfortability of all of the different moving parts at play here and all of the risk factors. Because I do feel like um, the argument against AI using just images that it finds on the internet, right? Willy nilly. The argument against the AI using images on the internet to generate completely or not completely unique, but unique and different end products from the original source material that it is deriving its inspiration from or it's learning from. Um, I think that puts us in a weird predicament when it comes to the question of fair use, right? Because what is fair use? I can, as long as I'm being decently creative enough with like a video or a song or what have you, as long as I am meaningfully changing it or being educational with it or, doing something with it that changes the core of what the thing is, I'm in the clear. But if we flip the concept of that on its head, AI, I feel like, is doing kind of something similar to that. Well, Fire, if you want to jump on, I'd be happy to talk with you because it would be a fun conversation to have, and I've been wanting to have it legitimately with somebody. But if you busy, that's totally fine too. I get it. It's one thing to do a fan work or even parody work. It's another thing to just generate art with an AI and claim it's something 100% new. Well, I don't think anyone can claim anything is 100% new. I think we're at a point in history, right, where everything correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm like grossly overspeaking or misspeaking here, but I feel like everything is kind of derivative of something that has come previously, right? Like, I'm not just talking about like sequels and prequels and the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how we're basically copy and pasting and rehashing the same plot over and over again, and we're doing reboots and we're doing female gender version of things. No, I'm not just talking about that. I mean, like, story beats have been relative. Like, there are books that tell you about the hero's journey, and basically any book that you read about a hero, quote unquote, is a rehashing of that hero's journey to some degree, on some level, maybe with some parts removed or some parts like emphasized. But there are formulas, for lack of a better word, for doing XYZ thing in any sort of medium. I mean, like, there are only so many ways to, in computer science, there are only so many ways that you can write a for loop. You can only write a for loop so many times. You can only use so many variables to indicate that I equals 0 or what have you. Kind of the argument. So I'm not saying that nothing's original necessarily, but it would be very hard to not pull inspiration from outside sources, from something that pre-existed in this current day and age. I mean, The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, his entire body of work, the father of modern fantasy. Well, a lot of his the reason not a lot of the reason. So he created all of the Elvish language. So sure, that was his own very unique creation. But what I mean is like the books themselves, the journey of Frodo and Sam, is very much reminiscent of, or like inspired by, his time as I think he was World War One. He's a World War One veteran. Um, it's very thematically similar, or at least it reads that way for the audience. That was kind of what fed that experience in the books. I believe, yeah, I think it was World War One. So he was World War One vet. He went through the experience of like leaving his home with all of his best mates and fighting in the war. And it was a significantly traumatic experience that changed his entire outlook on life, most likely. I mean, how could it not? And then he comes home and he starts writing the book. He sits down to write the book, and the book is basically Frodo Baggins and company leave the Shire to go fight off in this. They're they're basically just a bunch of like UK boys that are just chilling. But like Frodo Baggins and his squad, they leave the Shire. They go fight the great evils of Mordor, and it's like they're dramatically changed as a result. And Frodo cannot exist in the Shire as he did before he left the Shire. He is dramatically changed, and he's sent to the Undying Land, or he leaves to go to the Undying Lands, where he'll hopefully find peace and tranquility and what have you. So that story beat itself was inspired by something that pre-existed the actual story itself. That is Tolkien's experience. So what I'm saying is, as creatives, we take from our lived experiences, our existence, whatever it is that we fancy, the things that bring us meaning, and the things that we find important, the things that we tell ourselves, our little brain cavity, hey, this is significant to me, and we put it to the page or the press or the Word document or the Photoshop or what have you, ever like medium you want to put your thing upon. And we make it our own. We make it something, not exactly a copy, not even close to a copy, but it's got elements and little tidbits of that thing that we find meaningful in it. So that's what I mean by like everything is derivative of something. So what you're saying is Tolkien stole from himself, says Black Romeo. That bastard. Indeed, indeed. But can the AI make it something on its own? Well, could any of us really make anything on our own? I mean, like, does a blind person have a concept for the color green in their head? They've never seen the color green. They know it exists, but they've never seen it. So they can't quantify it in their head what the color green looks like. So they could never possibly identify it if given the opportunity. Like there's nothing up there. So can if removed from reality, right? If we were all blank slates, would we be able to? Ooh, actually, you know what? A good example of this, right? Okay. Hear me out, right? Humans and language. We've all heard stories of like Tarzan children being raised in the wild without human contact and being found later on, many, many years later, right? And they've, they've never socialized with anybody in their life. It's well beyond the developmental portion of their life, the developmental stage of their life where they would be learning languages. So they have gone through the developmental stage where they would be learning languages, and they didn't learn any languages because they had no one to learn languages from. So they get found and they get taught like very, very basic words, but they are just incapable of creating grammatical of using grammatical structure in the same way that we do, of understanding it even, actually, because that part of their brain, the synaptic nerves that connect, that have dominance over how we learn languages and such, they were pruned. They were essentially unused, and so they died off, and they are no longer as accessible as you'd like them to be. So that child will never be able to speak or have a comprehensive sentence structure conversation with another person because they never learned. So by necessity, we as humans need other humans, their interactions, their ideas, in order to formulate our own, in order to develop into the people that we become. We are necessarily not wholly our own, a manifestation of our own design and imagination and creation. We are we are who we are because of the influences that we've been subjected to for our entire life. Does that make sense? Reasonably speaking, to extend this, can an AI be human? I don't know. I have no fucking clue. And you know what? I don't know the answer to this. But that's why we're having these discussions, because it is incredibly fascinating to me. And yes, Afar, I will send you a link to the StreamYards if you would like to hop on with me. We can talk about this. I just gotta find you. Where you at? Do. Oh, far. She good people. Yeah, fancy. Wouldn't notes be considered the words for them? What we talk about? I'm looking at the chat. I'm kind of... Daniel Fullman, Weebo, is the story you're writing derived from something else? I mean, there are elements of it that I took inspiration from other things on. I guess, like... Ooh, okay. The way that... if you watch Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, and you watched the final episode, or like one of the last couple episodes, the one where Mordor was created, essentially, the idea for the erupting volcano to like cover Mordor in a complete cloud of ash and completely terraform the surrounding area so that it resembled Mordor, like basically the origin story of Mordor. I took the idea of like some nefarious secret dark overlord manifesting a volcanic eruption, and I was like, I'm gonna use that because it actually did fit, and I think I can do it better. And also, it was in line with how I wanted the story to round out, and it made sense. And I can't say why because that would be spoilery. More than I'm already being spoilery. So yes, I took that and I took inspiration from that. And that was just one of many, many elements that kind of gave me an idea to do the book. And look, Far's here.
Sorry, shit, Mike. This will be interesting.
It will be.
Yeah, I made a mistake of coming in and not muting the stream. Hi, I'm Far. I'm a dumbass. I don't know if you know that.
It's totally fine.
I'm not always that smart.
Long time no talk.
Yeah, long time no freaking talk.
Indeed.
Yes, there is chat. There is
You've
chat.
hang on, I just want to congratulate you. Did you not recently just get married?
I did.
Yes, congratulations on your
Thank you.
nuptials.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Mhm.
got married in front of a bunch of nutcrackers. It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was yeah, so this is just a bunch of pictures of me and Platy getting married, and it's like these horrific nutcrackers in the background. Kind of wild, honestly.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm gonna switch my audio output because I think I'm getting weird crinkly feedback.
Oh. Could be me.
It could be, but I don't know.
Like, this is
Oh my god.
admittedly not the best way I could be doing this, but
Yeah.
what can I do? I have a laptop. I am not in my own country.
Oh, so you're still
I'm still
overseas
here.
then?
I am still here.
Oh my gosh. Love that.
Yeah, I still see Platy sitting right in front of me.
Tell Platy I said hi.
She says hi, Platy.
Hello.
Yep, she's waving.
How much longer are you in the country for?
Until the end of February.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about the extent of how long I can really be here for, to be honest. Like, I could be technically a couple more days, but I don't want to risk it.
That's fair.
Like, once it starts getting close to that day, that's when I'm going to start panicking more. And yeah, I don't really want to do that. It's hardcore.
Entirely fair.
But
So you
anyway,
just-
anyway, happy anniversary for YouTube. Jesus Christ.
Thank you. I know it's been 7 years of doing this nonsense.
Yeah.
Pissing people off.
Congratulations on 7 years of successfully pissing a lot of people off.
Hey, you know what? If I don't do it, someone's going to.
I think people do it anyway. It's just
Yeah,
an
they do.
extra person.
I'm just one in the many person field of. Yeah, anyway.
What's one more troll
Exactly.
in the sea of trolls?
Okay, so
Anyway,
you wanted to yell at me about AI art.
not yell, just, have a
Mhm.
nice discussion that hopefully doesn't end in screaming.
I promise to not scream at
Right.
you. If
Yeah,
you
no,
scream
I
at
don't
me.
even mean to be mean. Like, I genuinely find the way you're
Mhm.
thinking about it, like, it's definitely annoys me to a level, but at the same time, I get it. I
Yeah.
completely understand, because you're coming from this, probably from the coder side, right?
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, whereas I'm coming from it of like, right, this skill I have, a lot of people are saying it's going to be useless in in the age of AI taking over everything. That's fun. That's nice.
Mhm.
That's great. Not at all demoralizing or anything. Not at all.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's going to end up being as bad as people think as well. If that makes sense. Like, this is my take on it. I don't like AI art,
Mhm.
but one part of it is more the art theft thing. And I know, like, you have like the whole, is it really art theft thing? Like, I kind of think of it as that, just because they're not really asking if they could use the artwork. Like, it's out there, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
Like, you could just go on Google and, hell, even download my shit. Like, it's out there. It's on the
Right.
internet. That's not the issue. I don't even have problems with people, right click and save. I'm not an NFT person. Don't worry. It's not like there's one lone PNG out there of this icon that I have right now,
Mhm.
It's like, no, you cannot save. No, my problem becomes when you don't ask permission to do that,
Right.
and then you start rolling out that AI as a thing you pay for,
Mhm.
and then people come by and they start using it and going, look at me, I'm an artist. Because there's I know it sounds like from that description like I'm going to the most extremes into
Yeah.
straw manning, but I'm not. I've seen enough. I've seen
Right.
enough people actually doing that exact shit. Hell, I've seen people. Oh my god! I saw maybe like a couple months back someone actually writing out the words "draw slave," referring to artists, and not meaning it in a joking way either. Like, they were dead serious. They were calling artists like draw slaves. Like, what the fuck? This has to be a joke. This has to be Clown World.
Mhm.
I refuse. But at the same time, it's like I think they might be somewhat serious in that. But I don't know. Again, don't know. Don't know in this
I
day
want
and
to
age.
assume that it was probably a joke because that
I
seems
would
like
hope
something that
to
someone would
God.
say is a joke.
I would hope to God that that was a joke. But at
Right.
the same time,
Yeah.
you never know. You never know. But because I've seen enough people actually claiming I'm an artist now. Look, I'm typing in
Mhm.
anime big boob titty waifu into this generator. Look at my amazing creation. Like, maybe
Right.
not even that, but you get what I mean. Like, it's
Right.
that part's infuriating to me just on that. Like, I'm not even really an elitist. I
Mhm.
hate the whole art elitism bullshit that you get of, oh, look at me, I'm educated.
Right.
That's nice. And a lot of that comes from just, I don't know, like, I've had family members that are also artists,
Mhm.
and they sure as fuck had no education in anything like that.
Yeah.
And yet their work is pretty nice. But you get what I mean? It's I'm not even an elitist, and I'm
Right.
not even trying to gatekeep anything here. Like, fucking hell, if you want to like draw your OC with like all the rainbow wings and in freaking MS Paint and post it onto DeviantArt, go ahead. I don't care.
So the issue for you is like the stolen valor feeling of it all,
One part of it, definitely, yeah. That's definitely a
and then the
the fact that like they
theft.
yeah the
element
theft
too.
part.
And
because-
the profiting off of it.
Yeah, and I only consider it really theft in that sense because again, right click save. Everyone has done
Mhm.
that. Literally everyone in this chat, you have all done that at some point. Don't lie
Yeah.
to me.
Everyone's downloaded a meme to their phone, and
Yeah.
it's sitting there right now waiting for you to use it again.
Exactly. It's like I don't even care about that part. I don't consider that
Mhm.
theft. It becomes theft more when you start profiting off it, which a lot of these AI algorithms, yeah, that is the intent at the end of the day of a lot of them. Maybe not the shit posty ones, like God, what's that? The Dali Mini? I think that's one of them. Yeah, where like that's up for free and that's like
Mhm.
just random photos. Which again, I don't understand the other part of this of why don't you just use random like stock photos? That'd be hilarious. Can you imagine like the monstrosities you could make from weird ass like just stock photos?
You probably could. I've seen I don't know if you've followed any AI generating art accounts. Or if you've seen them at any point.
I've
But there's
seen them around, yeah.
I think it's the Loam account, the one that has been like manifesting this weird, freaky woman figure.
Oh god, I've seen that one. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
What? I forget the name of her, but yeah, I know
Loab,
exactly
I
what you're talking
think.
about. Yeah, Oab, something like
Oh,
that.
Loab.
Loab.
Yeah, Loab.
Yeah, like that is kind of interesting to me. But that's like, are they claiming that they're an artist though? Are they like trying to monetize? Like, it gets into
No.
that tricky side of it, you know? Like,
It's Super Composite actually who does the Loab composites, but it's like refeeding the AI algorithm the same image over and over
Yeah.
and over again to kind of
That
experiment with the way that the algorithm creates
Yeah.
and manifests and what it does manifest. And that's how Loab was born, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, that one I'm oddly okay with, just because it's not like it's the same image over and over again in a weird sense, you know?
Mhm.
So it's like that's not as bad. Again, like you're right. My problem is more when you start getting into the theft side of it. If this was a bunch of artists that were putting their own works into these algorithms and they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, you know, I just wanted to see what happens, hee. And it wasn't like the weirdly scummy part of it, it'd be like, okay, whatever.
Mhm.
Like, you do you. I mean, I personally wouldn't, just because I don't like the idea of a I don't really generally like the idea. I find it fascinating,
Mhm.
but yeah, like I have to admit, it's like it kind of sucks the fun out of art in a weird way. Of like,
Yeah.
if a computer can generate it, what's the point? Because there's no humanity behind it. That's part of what makes the artwork interesting in the first place. The intent.
I agree.
the intent behind it, which is why it's kind of shitty. Like the way a lot of these people using these algorithms are just, I don't know, kind of looking at all the artists freaking the fuck out, rightfully freaking out too.
Mhm.
Maybe not like in some more extreme ways they're freaking out, but definitely there's a right for freaking out there. And just looking at them and being like, your days are numbered. Yeah,
that seems
we
rather
won't need-
malicious and kind of insensitive.
It is, especially since a lot of these algorithms are taking images from these exact same artists, freaking the fuck out, and it's being like put into all this stuff that they're generating. It's like, really?
Right.
Not only are you stealing from them, you're just shitting all over them. Like, yeah, no wonder you guys have a lawsuit on several of your algorithms right now.
That'll be interesting to see how that pans out in the court of law.
It will be.
am going to be so fascinated with the outcomes and watching that from the sidelines because I have no stakes in the game necessarily. I mean, yes, I have background in the computer science realm, and part of that background does involve AI, but it's not an immense portion. I find the topic super fascinating. And I get into some of the trouble with artists specifically about some of my questions on the matter.
Yeah, and it is like an incredibly fascinating thing to think about, of like just AI making art at a computer that makes art. Like, yeah, that's some dystopian bullshit, honestly, if you start thinking about that. But
so I have a question. If a human were to take like a piece of art and then like upload it to Photoshop and then alter it in a way that like they wanted to, does that technically count as stealing art? Or at what point does it become fair use? I guess I would say.
The point it starts becoming fair use. I think if you change it enough where it's like, and again, like the definition of enough here is so loose, you know? Like, if you change it enough and like, I guess, I mean, if you look the way Polly does stuff, right? Because that's what he does. He takes stuff into Photoshop and he does fucking wonders with that shit. Oh my god. Insane fucking shit. But at the same time, you could definitely look at that and be like, that's stolen, Polly. What's wrong with you, Mr. Dovenstein?
Amoral as heckin'.
You could definitely, like, maybe make the case there that could be stolen. But I personally wouldn't think so, because he's obviously, like, you don't see the changes immediately when you just see the thing on its own. But once you see it compared side by side, he adds enough changes where it becomes kind of its own thing. Like, it looks incredibly similar, but he's put a hell of a lot more work into it than you would think. I think, so personally for me, that wouldn't be stolen, but I think there might be other people that would look at that and be like, that's stolen, Polly.
So,
you know, I think it really comes down to how much you would think needs to be changed.
Okay.
And that's getting into like really like just specific things there, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's not the same shade of brown or whatever bullshit. Like, it's hard. It's hard to determine that for some things, especially Photoshop jobs.
Polly says it's all stolen, so he admits he's a filthy, thieving YouTuber.
that thieving otter. What the fuck, man?
Indeed.
You piece of shit.
Thank you to Gutenberg, who donated $20 to Super Chat to say he didn't mean that. What didn't you mean? Are you talking about my weird OnlyFans stream? This is probably the worst OnlyFans stream, because it's not like...
It's not even on OnlyFans.
It's not even on OnlyFans. It's on YouTube. And then I could probably acknowledge the other donations that I received as well.
Yeah, you should do that.
Yeah. From Cryptic, who donated $30 to say, happy times, Weebo. It's been a long time. Order some food for you tomorrow. And Polly also donated $20 to say happy anniversary, Weebos. Keep doing you, boo boo. I appreciate that. And I think he gave me flack about not acknowledging that earlier in the chat, which is how I know that
Fair
it came
enough.
up. But you just happened to pop in at that moment, so I'm like, well, no, I gotta talk to Far now. So fuck Polly.
Sorry, Polly.
This takes precedence. She wants to yell at me, Polly. Don't you understand?
I want to scream and be heard. Hear me fucking roar.
Okay, so but in the same vein of question, like, so we just
All right.
established that you don't think that what Polly does with photoshopping stuff is technically stealing because he changes it enough that it's no longer
It's
the
no longer
original
really the same.
entity.
I mean,
right,
he
it's not
even
the same.
adds stuff in there. Like, if you've seen some of the, I mean, all of it really,
Right.
all those scenes like, in the background. It's not even like it's the same, like, bar area or sitting room, right? Because that'd be simple enough to do, right? Like, just change the colors here and there, change the shadow. No, he adds shit in there.
Okay.
Like, in the Noir Bar set, or, you know, location 1, location 2, location 1 has, like, so many things in the background if you start looking at it. I don't even want to reveal everything that's in there because I know most of it. I forget some of it. No, I forget some of it, but I don't know if Polly really wants me to say, like, 100% everything that's in there because it's kind of like, haha, will they ever notice? Who knows? But I can say, though, because we've said this multiple times on stream, like, if you look at the, like, bottom left of the screen, I think, like, near, not, like, the very bottom, but, like, on the shelves, right? On the counter bit, like, around that area, you will see Helpful Hops just kind of, you know, cleaning a glass there. Just a tiny little bird, just doing his thing. You know, like, there's like a picture of, like, Washington crossing the Delaware on another fucking wall. I'm pretty sure there's a commission piece that I did, like, of you and Polly sitting in a bar somewhere in there as well, you know? Like, there's a shit ton of stuff he adds in there, which is why I recognize, and I'm saying this, like, just to cover my ass here, you know? I recognize that a lot of people might look at that and go, that's stolen. But once you start acknowledging that it's not just the bar that he's photoshopped, he's added things into said bar. It's no longer quite the same, is it?
No.
Which is why it's not really, at that point, stolen. And plus, adding on to that, I'm pretty sure the pictures that he's used for that are, like, shots of actual bars that exist.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, they're probably pictures from, like, reviews of the bars. It's just shit like that, where it's like, it's not even, I don't really know. I
basically just a hodgepodge of composite images that Polly has taken from all over the internet and combined into one thing.
And at that point, it becomes more like a digital collage, if you will.
I'm sure he's so happy with you for having said that.
I don't think he is. I don't think he. Every time I told him, I was like, "That's art, Polly." He's like, "No, Far, you're wrong. Fuck you." It's like, maybe not in quite those words.
So, having said that, how much would an AI have to change in a piece of art in order for it to not be considered stolen? Then,
I don't know if I have the answer for that either. Because the problem is, I fall back on that idea of, again, it's not really doing anything itself. It is the ultimate in composite imaging right there. And I know, like, that sounds hypocritical, right? Like, after I just compliment Polly on his whole, you know, artistic Photoshop prowess, you know? Like, yeah, that sounds really fucking hypocritical. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like there's a difference between photoshopping a image that's been taken as a photo and then I don't know, something with, like, hand drawn. Like, I don't even know how to really fully describe the thought here. Like, if that makes sense.
No, that's totally fine.
Yeah, but
it's a complicated topic.
It is, no, and it is a complicated thought to have. It's just there's definitely a difference there in my mind because it's like a thing I always like. One of the biggest things I kind of fall back on with the AI stuff, right, is the fact of the AI isn't really thinking in the way that we do. It can it even be classified as really being a thing that can think?
Right.
And
Well,
I know
is it even artificially intelligent? Is the
exactly, and it's like I know that starts to fall into the realm of like, you know, do robots dream of electric sheep, like that kind of bullshit, you know, of like, is it really even alive? Can it do things a human could do? But that's the problem though. Like, you kind of start having to think of it like that. Of like, no, it can't really. You're just feeding images into an algorithm, and it's shitting out whatever the fuck it thinks you're wanting. You know, and I think it just once again comes down to the human element, honestly.
Okay, so that I feel like we've reached like the apex of the issue is that the issue with AI art is that a lot of people will think of art as, hey, art by necessity has to be created by the human element. Right.
Yeah. And that's the other
or has
thing
to have
as well.
the human element in order for it to be classified as art, because
Yeah.
we get artists who have the modern art interpretations of like just putting a toilet in a room and calling it art, and they're like, hey, this is art, but they're still human creating
toilet is fucking funny. Just the fact that is still pissing people off 100 years after it has been exhibited. I don't give a fuck. That is one of my favorite things. I have to appreciate the shitpostiness of it. I don't give a fuck. That's one of those few modern art things where I'm like, I'm okay with this.
The real art is the people we pissed off along the way.
Exactly, because oh my god, that toilet, that fucking urinal, it still pisses people off. It's like, that is art in and of itself. The ability to piss people off a century after the fact. That's fantastic.
So would you say the thing that makes art is the intentionality behind the art or the artist? Because the AI doesn't have an intention so much as it has commands that it's supposed to be fulfilling.
I think it's definitely a part of it. Like the fact that a human is sitting down, like with a pencil, a style, or whatever the fuck you want to, you know, use as an instrument of making art here. They are sitting down. They are, I mean, sometimes I don't really think about what I'm doing, honestly, but, you know, there's a thought process of at least, I'm doing a thing and I know how to do the thing here. Kind of, maybe. But
just experimenting.
You have that going on, right? But that's the thing as well, experimenting. That's a very human thing to do. Can an AI experiment with what it is generating?
That I think would depend on the AI itself and
what
kind of algorithm it's been programmed with.
And what it's been fed as well.
I'd have to look under the hood, honestly.
Yeah, that becomes the other issue of like, I just don't see actual art stuff being AI generated as like this thing that's the future. Like I can see it being a thing that people use, definitely, and people using in a commercial aspect, but I don't see it as this end of the world kind of thing where it's going to suddenly replace artists, because the AI still requires you to feed it images of some sort. They're still going to be feeding it stuff that comes from people actually drawing it, and that's like the biggest part of it. It can't create it on its own. You have to feed it stuff.
And see, that's I think where we have our biggest disagreement is I'm of the opinion that as humans, we probably couldn't be as like creative as we'd want to be without taking inspiration from other aspects of our lives, regardless.
But that's the thing, though, right? I'm not saying it as a taking inspiration thing, right?
Well, inspiration
humans take inspiration and things like that all the time. Like it's not the biggest, but that's the thing, though. What's the difference between inspiration and just straight up looking at a thing and going, I made this. Because that's kind of the weird wonky line that AI generate art kind of has. It's like, is it taking inspiration from the things it's being fed? Or is it just going, yes, in this one picture the arm is like this, and in this one it's like the other arm will be like this, and then boom, together.
Right. So if
What's
it was like
doing? Is it
going
actually
out-
being inspired, or is it
Well-
just taking elements? It gets into that weird territory of like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if it's actually smart enough to, just be
Mhm.
inspired or just take. Because there's a bit of a difference between those two. Like, it's very similar things.
Mhm.
But it's like, yeah, it becomes a bit murky at that point. And that's definitely one of the bigger things, I guess, that a lot of artists look at with this, of like, okay, how is it actually doing it?
Okay. So if the AI was going out and it was looking for its own inspiration.
That would be another thing entirely, I think. Because it's... But that's the problem, though, isn't it? Because AI can't do that, because AI isn't human.
Not currently, but if there was an AI...
Someday,
this might
AI
be a question that we
overcome
might have
humanity.
to revisit. But like at some point, if someone were to create an AI that had enough autonomy to go out and seek its own inspiration and then come back with its own unique style and create art based off of what it was inspired by.
Yeah, that wouldn't really be an issue for me personally. I'd find that actually kind of fascinating if that, could actually occur. Be like, oh, look, we have an AI artist buddy. Sweet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know how many other artists would feel the same way. But that would definitely, though, raise the questions of like, okay, how human can the AI be?
Okay.
But yeah, that's definitely a part of it, though. It's the fact of like, it's just being fed things.
Okay.
Yeah, it's being fed things. It's not exactly like it's going out and going, oh, look, I like Picasso. Neat. And then like doing its own like things inspired by Picasso. Because in that situation, it'd be more someone's feeding the AI artwork of Picasso, and it's generating things that, you would think Picasso would have probably painted.
Okay.
It becomes just that weird. That weird kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea, guys.
Okay, so long as it had its own like preferences and things that it liked over other things, and it wasn't getting like force fed all of this data and information and training data sets that it was just learning how to draw from. If it was learning how to draw of its own volition,
and if it was
totally
actually
fine.
learning how to draw, that's the other thing. So I don't think they're actually learning how to draw. I'm pretty sure it really is just... I'm pretty sure they are really just doing digital collages, as I said before, just not as artfully as Polly would.
Well, like I said, I have to take a look under the hood to actually
and I would be fascinated.
Understand exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, like I'd be fascinated to know what they're doing. I mean, I probably wouldn't understand half of it, but I would be fascinated to know exactly how they're pulling it off and how they're still not able to draw hands or fingers. Because that is one of my favorite parts. Like, I can't even lie about that. Just with AI art in general, the fact of this, the bane of artists everywhere, fucking hands, right?
And not the AI has the same issue.
Not even AI can fucking figure out how to draw a hand, but it has the added hilarity of it can't even figure out on some of these hands how many fingers it's supposed to have. Like, it's fucking amazing. Honestly, like, it's just like the best thing to see one of these things pop up on my timeline on Twitter, right? And it's like, is this AI? Oh, yep, there's the hand. Yeah, look at that eldritch abomination right there. Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
It can't do it for some fucking reason. Hands are just beyond everyone. Human, AI, probably aliens that descend from the sky, and they're like, wow, what the fuck are these things at the end of your arms?
I wonder
your hands.
I wonder if it's the same issue. It has the same issue with like toes.
I think it does. I actually think it does. It's just usually people are wearing shoes, right? Or if people are drawing a person, it'll be like, what, torso up?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't usually see feet in a lot of these images because why
Right.
would you? Most people don't really draw feet.
There's a whole market. I'm surprised that
I
there
know,
is no
right? Like you would
AI
think that
foot
that'd be
fetish
the,
market.
you think that'd be one of the first markets they'd be like trying to advertise to. It's like, wow, feet, guys, look at this.
Yeah.
Feet.
Now we don't have to buy them from feet OnlyFans.
Yeah, right? They can
Right?
just generate their own feet.
Yes.
Fuck. But
Maybe that's why, because the feet look wonky, and so they're like,
that probably
not,
is.
a 6-footed or 6-toed foot? Absolutely not. I can't get off to that.
Yeah.
5 feet or nothing. Or 5
Right.
toes or nothing.
5 feet of toes. Wait, that doesn't work out. No,
Oh,
but it's
it's
an
a
AI,
foot
Michael.
with feet for toes. Tiny little toes at the end that are actually just tiny feet.
God, that's so cursed. But yeah,
Well,
that's
now I
probably why
have
you don't
to.
really see the feet though, because people usually crop it.
Yeah.
And but
Mhm.
I can guarantee feet will probably have the exact same issue as hands.
No, that seems like that would track.
Oh my god. But yeah, like I'm fascinated with AI. Like, don't get me wrong, it's just
Hmm.
please don't steal my shit and put it in an algorithm without me knowing.
Yeah.
How even with me knowing, like, please don't steal my shit and put it in an algorithm. Like, holy fuck.
Like, Far, I'm taking all of your images, I'm putting them in an AI generator, and I'm telling it to your face so you won't be mad at me.
I'm still gonna be mad at you. What the fuck? But yeah, but yeah, that's also why a lot of people have gotten pissed off at this, though. It's the fact of like they'll be posting this stuff to art websites, you know, art portfolio websites specifically, and suddenly in their terms of service, oh yeah, your shit's all added into an algorithm. Don't worry about it. What?
So,
What?
here's a question, right?
Yeah.
Say you had your own AI bot that you use, that you just fed your own art, and then you generated art from the bot based off of your own art style.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts?
Honestly, if I were to do that, I would just be doing it to create abominations. Like, that's just me personally. It's like, hey, how badly can this thing fuck it up? How badly? Come on. Like, that would just be me personally. I would never use it seriously, to be honest. Like, because it sucks the fun out of it, to be honest. Like, it'd be interesting to see it in action, to see it like, okay, so pointy nose, buck teeth, slanty, like slightly slanted eyes, like just to see like what the fuck it registers everything as and what it produces. Like, that would be interesting.
What eldritch abomination can be produced
like how many
from
fingers are you gonna give my
generator.
beloved Io here? That's my icon, you know? Like, how many fingers is she gonna have by the end of this? But
I want the next Loeb.
yeah, right. It's just this image, but it's horrifying somehow. But
you wouldn't use it seriously.
No, because it does, like, I'm a curious person with stuff like that, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, if I want to create a new character from scratch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Draw it up, like, sketch it out, and all that sort of stuff. I have the skills and resources to be able to do that on my own, and it would probably be way more fun than typing in a prompt into an AI. Because it also gives me the chance to think of what exactly I want on this thing. And also, like, go, okay, that doesn't work. I'll replace it with this and that. Because I genuinely find the process of drawing shit out to be fun, to be enjoyable. Sometimes I might complain about my wrists hurting, or, you know, stabbing my iPad screen because, oh my god, why won't it register my fingers trying to enlarge the thing?
Right.
I might get, you know, really fucking pissed off during the process, but I swear to God, I find it enjoyable somehow. And I find it satisfying by the end of it to look at the product and be like, I made this. And it not be the meme of, you know, like, I made this. You made this? I did. Like, you know the exact meme I'm referring to there. Like, No,
Yeah.
there is a genuine pride you have when you create something with your own hands. You take a step back and you look at it and you're like, ah, yeah, I did. Yeah, I made this. This is nice. This is pretty sweet. Yeah, that's cool.
It's got more meaning for you.
Exactly. And I don't think if I were to put that through an AI, I think at best I'd be like, huh, that's weird and like fascinating, I guess. But it wouldn't be the same level of satisfaction because it's not really like I made the pieces that are going in, right? Because we're assuming this is all images, like things I've drawn up, things I have made personally. But the end result that the AI generates, I haven't actually really made that. That's just smashing a bunch of shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And all I did was type in a few keywords. It's just not the same.
Okay.
Maybe the AI feels something. I don't fucking know. But you know,
I don't think they're programmed with emotions one way or the other at all. I don't think that's part of the equation whatsoever.
They're programmed to feel pride every time they get a prompt.
Now, if the
like, did I please you, sir?
Please, sir, may I have some more voltage?
Please, sir, may I have some more artwork to tell me generate?
Okay. Follow-up question.
All right.
Now, if you were to have programmed your own brand new AI algorithm thing that you then fed your own art into and then just had it like poop out art and what have you, would you feel a sense of pride every single time it pooped out art?
I mean, maybe if I programmed it myself from scratch, but I don't know shit.
No, I'm just saying if you had.
There's a reason why like I try not to do math shit. Like honestly, out of the two of us,
there's a lot less math involved than you think.
Why do you think I do art? I can't do math.
There is so much less math than you think that there is in computer science. I am kidding. I kid you not.
Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe I would feel satisfaction from if I had like, you know, build it from the ground up, everything. But even then, it's like I don't know. Like I guess I would feel more pride in the fact that I made the algorithm and not necessarily like every time it shouts something out. I feel like it'd still probably be the same end result, you know. Proud of like everything that like I've made here. Not the generated art itself. I think I would still have that same like, yeah, that's kind of neat. Because again, it's like, yeah, like, I don't know, like it's just suddenly it's not really me doing it.
Okay.
Why would I feel pride over something I didn't really, I don't know, really generate? Like, I don't know. It gets weird at that point, I guess. It's,
degrees of separation between you and what was pooped out by the AI.
Exactly. It's like it's still there's like you said, there's definitely a degree of separation still there.
Now, to some degree, like I know you say you draw on an iPad, right?
Yeah.
Do you use Photoshop, or is it
no?
different?
I use I use a program called Procreate, which I know sounds bad. But that is legitimately the name of it, and I do actually recommend the program if you can pay for it.
Okay. So like I've never used Procreate, so I don't know like what kind of tools that it has. Does it have like
I mean like
the full gambit that Photoshop would, or something reduced?
Probably similar stuff. I think like they're all basically when it comes down to all these programs like Photoshop, Fire Alpaca, another one on here that I used before Procreate, like Sketchbook or some bullshit like that. That was a freebie. All of these different programs, they all have like the same basic functionality of like, here's a brush, here's some things, here you could probably import photos if you really wanted to. Like they all run basically the same.
Okay. I ask because I know that to some degree, like Photoshop at least, uses some level of, I don't want to call it artificial intelligence exactly, but some form of algorithmic generation for digital aspects. So, like for instance, the gradient tool, um, it you're not actually creating that gradient. You are basically just picking two colors that you want to form a gradient and then drawing a line from one side to the other, and there you have your gradient. And you can do that to reduced functionality in like smaller sectors or what have you, or larger sectors. And like you're not actually doing the pen stroke necessary to create that color gradient and doing the blending itself, but you're still creating that color gradient. So to some degree, you are expediting the process, not to the same degree that the AI would, but it's to a degree. So at what point, I guess,
when it ceases having any input by a human hand, because that's
Okay.
like, because you're still selecting the colors, right? You're
Mhm.
still putting the gradient somewhere. Like that's the extent of the AI in that situation. It's just creating the gradient. That's really like
no, that's part of it. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's creating the gradient, but you're selecting the colors. You're determining where the gradient goes from, like,
Yeah,
what
and
corner to what
that's
corner, what
that
side
is
to what side.
definitely part of the difference, isn't it? Because you're
Mhm.
still determining where it's going to go.
Mhm.
You're still like having some control over it. Whereas the AI, what, big boob titty waifu?
Well, you're specifying
it.
the
That's it.
prompts that will eventually
Yeah,
prompt
but
the
that's
AI.
really it
Mhm.
though. Like because with that gradient though, like you're not really just gonna put a gradient into a Photoshop file and leave it at that, are you?
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
of course,
you'd be
you're
putting
gonna.
other things in
Mhm.
there. You'd be adding to it. You'd be manipulating it in some way. Like, because that's the thing. You're still. It's just. It's kind of just a tool at that point. And now I know there's going to be a bunch of people going like, "Oh yeah, but AI is also a tool." It's like, but it's still not quite the same though, is it? Like it. Yeah, I recognize it's also a tool. That's not the point. It's how you use said tool. The
Mhm.
gradient, it's not you're putting it in there and you're like, this is my art piece, respect me,
Some people have.
some people, oh no, some people definitely have. I don't think you need to respect those people. Fuck those people.
That's
But
how I do my backgrounds on my videos.
yeah, but it's like
For my thumbnails.
yeah, but you're not going out there and being like, this is my artwork, pay me $5,000 for it, bitch.
Mhm.
Okay, now here's the color codes for it. Paint it on your wall yourself. Haha, you still bought my artwork. There's a guy that actually does that, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He just he will sell you, right? So he'll have this painting out and be like, oh yeah, I bought the painting. What you have bought is the rights to paint this painting on your wall at home. Paint by colors style with specific art color value shit and everything. Art is fucking wild when you get into the weird shit like that. Fucking hell.
So you don't like diamond paintings then?
I don't know. I just find it funny that there's a guy that actually does that. It's like, why? Why? Come on, man. But and even funnier that people actually pay for it.
Yeah.
People pay him good money for that too. It's like, really? But yeah, that is definitely a part of the tool part of it.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you actually just, I don't know, like just letting shit do whatever the fuck it wants, and how much are you actually adding input into it?
Okay.
Yeah, because that's the difference between just the gradient AI and AI bots, really. Because you're still going to do shit with the gradient afterwards. Most people don't fix up the AI artwork. Why would they? They think it's perfection. 15 fingers and all.
Okay. Okay, another question. Is photography art?
Yeah.
If it's
Straight
just
up.
taking a picture.
Yeah, straight up. Like, because that also depends on I think that also depends on like the intention too.
Mm-hmm.
Are you just taking a picture, of like some kids doing some bullshit, or are you like actually taking it in a way of like look at how pretty this all is. Look at like this or that. Like, no, photography is absolutely an art form in and of itself. But that is another one where it's like, it does depend on how you're going about it. And this is like where it starts to get into that weird side of like art elitism, which I don't like doing. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, some of this might even sound elitist, like from what I've said before, but it's like, I'm not coming at it from that angle, I swear to God. And I hate like gatekeeping shit like that too, but no. No, absolutely. Like, photography is a kind of art. There's
Well, I only ask
shit
because
that goes into it.
well, okay, so I know that there are certain like things that photographers do to kind of enhance the way that pictures look using like light tricks and stuff. So there's like a whole science to it. I'm not discounting that, but like just say you go to Yosemite or like just some like national park and you are the most basic white bitch with an iPhone camera.
Yeah, you got your Starbucks, you got your Ugg boots, you're on your way.
Yeah, so you're just like taking pics with your camera. You're snapping pics of things that you like. Very, very low effort being put into it. Maybe you might throw a filter on it at some point.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a completely separate question. I'll ask that later. But so,
I mean, I can answer that now. Depends on the filter. Depends on exactly what you're going for it as well.
You take that
its own
picture.
Category.
You take that picture, right? And yeah, you're posting it to Instagram. But it's like it's a picture of, maybe this picture is scenery, but like you take a picture of I don't know, like someone else's art too. Does that count as art, the picture that you took?
I think it still would be art, yeah. Just because it's like, if you have the intention of it being like, look, pretty picture, it's art, I can't really fault you for like going like, look, it's art. Like, yeah. I mean, that's what a lot of art generally is, honestly. Like, look, I painted this picture, it's art. But son, that's just like a thing, like that's just a sponge you've thrown at the wall. It's art. Like, come on, like when that's the start of when that is the absolute fucking state of the art world, you're just able to like throw shit at a canvas and like that's considered art. Yeah, no, anything that you've posted onto Instagram with a filter, that can also be considered art. I don't give a fuck. Like, come on.
So even if you just like you put the filter over the picture,
well, I don't think it's like filter or no filter. I don't think the filter's really the point. It's more like, what have you taken a picture of? How have you gone about like framing the shot? The filter is secondary, if anything, because artists put filters on their shit all the time. You know, like filters aren't really anything new with photography, like not by a fucking long shot. Have you ever seen someone edit a photo in Photoshop?
I do it all the time.
Yeah, well, yeah,
like,
obviously.
Not well.
But, yeah, but so one of the best things I ever learned from doing when I did the art diploma stuff, right, and we did the photography part of it, was how easy it is to make a photo look like it has more depth than it would initially. And all you do is you put the photo into Photoshop, you create a duplicate layer of that photo, you multiply the bitch, and then you just kind of make it a bit more transparent until you get what you want. That is legitimately how to do it. It's so fucking easy. That in itself is, you could really just call that a filter, can't you?
I could.
Yeah. Like, but you see what I mean? It's
those effects,
still,
aren't they generated based off of an algorithm though?
Yeah, but you're still creating it, aren't you? Like,
right.
it's you're still creating the end product. That's the difference. It's like the AI, you're not really though, are you? The generator part of it. Yeah, like
unless you're specifically saying, I would like the sepia tone in my AI generated art, please, thank you.
Yeah, or like you're in sepia tone at this percentage, this thing. Once you start getting specific with it, and I don't think the AI generators can really do that.
I don't know. Maybe.
Can
it's a good question. I have not experimented with that.
Can AI generators apply a filter and like you can get specific with it. Can they do that?
Well, I know they could probably draw something in black and white, and by draw,
Well, yeah, I mean, they just put the black and white.
right, and that
Yeah,
technically would be a filter.
That would be, wouldn't it? Yeah. Huh. I wonder if how.
I have to
specific they get for that.
assume it's not that complicated to just import all of the different algorithms that like Photoshop's use.
Oh, absolutely not. It wouldn't be.
When it manifests whatever multiply filter layer thing that you want to put into any individual Photoshop element. So that doesn't seem like it would be that impossible for me.
Yeah.
For the AI to do.
It wouldn't be, but
Mm.
you still get what I'm saying, though. It's like you're still, if when it's in Photoshop and you're like doing the multiply thing, you're still like, yeah, you got technically AI running in the background, sure, but you're still controlling the AI.
Right.
It's like
you're
manual AI.
micromanaging it.
Yeah, it's like manual AI.
Right.
Like we could call it that, right?
Okay, so we
But
have a problem with autopilot AI.
Yes, that's more the big problem, right? It's,
okay.
you've automated AI, which is what everyone is losing a shit about. And again, rightfully so, in a lot of those cases. Oh my god. But yeah, stuff like you would encounter in Photoshop or any Photoshop-esque product, that'd be manual AI. You're still controlling the end product.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still controlling how much of that multiply filter I'm putting on top of that picture.
Okay. So if I take a picture with one of those like doggy filters on my face that alters my face.
I mean,
and
that
makes
could
it
be
look-
art. That
Is
could
that
be.
art? Yeah.
I mean, it could be. I don't fucking know. Like, that's getting into like the weirder side of like the filters, you know? I mean, there comes a certain point where like, and this is when
Mhm.
it starts getting into like art debate bullshit,
Right.
which is always a fun time to have with people that, you know,
Right.
they're like, ah, yes, art, I'm gonna judge you all from my high seat above you all. That's always fun. That's when it starts getting into those fun little debates of where do you draw the line of what is art and what isn't, and that's how you end up with shit like, you know, someone leaving their shoes on the floor in the middle of an art gallery and being like, that's art, that's my exhibit. I'm joking about that one, but I'm willing to bet that is an actual art piece that someone has probably put out there.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I would not doubt it for a second. But that is when you start getting into those weird debates of like what constitutes art and what doesn't. And once you start drawing those lines, that's when it's like you start getting into those weird problems of, okay, so I had a lecturer when I did the art stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who was fucking insistent that illustration is not art. As in, the shit that you see me doing, because that is considered illustration, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know we all call it drawing, but no, the actual correct term would be illustration.
Right.
She was adamant that that is not art. And
why though? Like, what's the lie?
I think
behind
it
that?
was because of, again, the intention thing. So the same way I'm, you know, like AI art can't really be art because intention, humanity,
Mhm.
She felt that weird way about illustration and how it's not really artistic because you are drawing a character on a page and it's supposed to be, I don't know, like cartoony or some bullshit. It's not really a painting on a wall or a statue in a museum. It's not the same. And she's right, it's not exactly the same to have an illustration that you would see in a book. Like, that's probably not going to be on like an art gallery wall anytime soon, sure. But does that stop it from being art, though? No. Straight up, no. Because the same amount of skill that's going into that painting is going into that fucking illustration.
Right.
Like, it's just... Yeah, it's just that's when you start getting into the weird stuff like that, and that stuff has always pissed me off because it's like, where's the line then to draw?
Right.
And I don't really like drawing those lines personally. Like, I will draw the line of the AI stuff, but that's just because over the course of everything happening with that, it has managed to piss me off in so many different ways personally. And I understand, like, that's a personal thing. But at the same time, I kind of have to stand by the whole, when you remove the human aspect from it, what is it then at that point?
Right. So, personally, I'm of the opinion that when it comes to art, there is no like true actual definition to what constitutes as art, because obviously,
because that's when you start getting into the weird.
that's an
lines in the
impossible
sand.
question to
Yeah.
answer at this juncture, and I don't think anyone really wants to draw that line. Well, people draw that line.
No,
and say,
oh yeah, no,
fine,
that
sure."
lecturer draw that line real fucking hardcore.
Right, but I don't think that they can successfully do that to
No, they can't.
really any degree. Just because people have been challenging what it is to be art since forever.
Yeah, since the dawn of time, there's always been that guy that's like, hey, this thing that we shit in or piss in, yeah, that's art.
Yes, and so in terms of the AI art, it seems like AI art in the way that we understand it, like the word prompt generator, it's being used more so as a tool than as like being an artist, because obviously it can't produce its own art.
No.
And it can't go out and search for its own inspiration. It has to be fed the art itself, and then it has to be tasked with creating the art. So at best, it works on commission and exclusively on commission.
Yeah. Wow, it's the most artist to ever artist. Holy shit.
Right? Totally. But like, okay, so it's a tool, but it's a very, very reductive tool to the concept of art. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we have like other tools that are less easy to use in terms of reproducing the final product. Like there's like a whole spectrum, because we have like our color gradients and our sepia filters and our multiplier effects, etc., and our what is it called when you like lighten or dark contrasting tools?
Yeah.
And those are algorithmic and AI based, but they're not. They're only doing like a fraction, a sliver, a tiny percent of what it is that the AI generally is being tasked to do. The AI, the end goal over here, all off into the right side. It does all of the things in combination, and it just asks you to present it with word prompts, versus everything else over here on this side. They exist, and again, they can't be used unless acted upon by an external force like the artist, but they do one thing or reduced functionality things, and so they must be tasked with doing those reduced functions in such a way as to produce what it is that the artist wants in an end result.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, honestly. It's because it's all those things that you're using in Photoshop, they have one job.
Right.
The AI generator has many jobs apparently going on behind the scenes. Again, you would need to open up the hood, see what the fuck's going on in there, but I would have to assume there's a lot more going into that than what your little sepia tone in Photoshop. Like, there would have to be, you know?
Right.
Otherwise, it'd just be all this sepia blob shit coming out of the AI generator.
Well, if I plugged in sepia tone into the AI generator, I do wonder what I would get. Now I'm curious.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of curious. Like, I don't really want to track down one of these generator things to do that, but you know. I mean, maybe some DALL-E Mini bullshit. I don't know.
DALL-E Mini.
I mean, that one I'm kind of okay with, because I'm pretty sure it's just taking shit off Google Images.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure that's all that's doing, which is still kind of shitty when you think of I can probably like get some artists working there, but I don't think they're actually I don't know if that one is actually profiting. And from what I've seen, I don't think anyone would really be using that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you've ever seen anything coming out of that particular one, it's funny, but it's not really the quality you see a lot of these generators putting out.
Yeah. No. Well, it's loading right now. I literally just typed in the one word sepia. Because I am very curious.
Yeah, I'm glad it's just all
exactly
the same color in every single square.
Oh, you have the option to print it to a t-shirt.
Ooh. How about
At least they're selling a product, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's probably how they're making their money. But
yeah,
I don't know.
It's still loading.
Yeah, it might take a moment. Talking about
this is almost not worth it. Oh my gosh, it's taking nearly as long as normal
it does take
do.
a moment, honestly. It just talking about artists drawing a line. Yeah, I mean, I see the irony of saying that, but at the same time,
mm-hmm.
like, I draw lines all the time.
I draw lines in the sand.
I draw lines on paper.
That's fun. Good to know. Good to know.
Oh God.
I don't have any like more questions.
No, and that's fine. Like,
do you have any questions for me?
Not really. Like, that's the thing. I think we've kind of like gone over really all the points
that I could think of right now.
but
I'm sure,
I think
like,
those
given
points,
10 more hours, I could come up with 10
right?
points, right?
But those points, I think they would pretty much be anything I could really be asking you in return, to be honest. Like, I think it's pretty much each one of those points is one thing for both sides. Like, there's not really much of a difference going on there for what would be asked of each side.
I do feel like, having had this conversation with you for however long, what is it, like an hour now at this point?
Probably, yeah. Holy shit.
Having had this conversation, I do feel like I understand more the backlash that the AI art gets from the art community.
Yeah.
And so...
that's good anyway. I'm glad.
Right. Yes. Because I was having such a difficult time like really understanding exactly what it was that the root issue was for artists coming into it. And I'm like, okay, but this happens. Okay, but this exists. Okay, but this condition happens.
Yeah, and
okay,
I can see
this. And I'm like, how do you have a problem with one but not the other? What is the crux of the issue? And so, having articulated it for me, I feel better having had this discussion.
Well, that's like,
because
because I can definitely see, like, if I think that is definitely a problem with the whole AI versus artist thing going on here, right? Like, if you don't know, I don't know, like, if you're not aware of the stuff artists kind of do, or like the way that they'd be looking at this, of like, shit, they just stole my art and they're profiting of it. What the fuck? Like, if you weren't really aware of like how of that part of it, or like even like the code part of it, you know, of like oh yeah, I just want to automate and make everyone's life easier. Like, if you don't know like one side or the other, you're gonna come across this and look at it like, what the fuck is everyone's problem? Holy shit, people are assholes.
Why are we having such conniptions over this thing? This is not a big deal. The world is not ending because of it.
Yeah, and it's like, I can absolutely understand people looking in on the outside and going, what the fuck is everyone's issue here? But once you start like looking at it, right, from one person's perspective, like artist perspective, code perspective, whatever the fuck, once you start looking at it like and trying to figure it out, and you see, I guess, what like the specifics of it, like that does tend to clear it up a bit. I guess, like, I kind of just see it from the artist's point of view, because again, look at my icon, look what I do. It's kind of my thing. But
you're an artist. I had
holy shit. Who would have ever guessed? But
what? Oh
What?
no.
Oh
It's
no.
not like you drew my channel art or anything.
Not at all. Holy shit. It's not as if I I, have like a whole bunch of drawing shit on my channel or anything. Not at all.
No, of
But
course not.
no, not at all. But but yeah, I can absolutely understand not understanding the artist part, like the artist side of it. If you're not even aware of any of the way an artist would be thinking about shit like this.
Mhm.
Because no, it's some random person in chat. It's not the art community is afraid that AI can do it better. It's a lot of them actually kind of do fear it will take over entirely and take the soul out of art.
Yeah.
Which is a part that which is like I'm not gonna lie, a little bit of a fear of mine as well. I don't think it's going to happen. Doesn't mean that it's like, not a niggling thing at the back of my mind.
I get that. I do think that the idea that artists are worried that AI art can just do it better seems rather reductive. Because I mean, sure, maybe there are a few people
They
that
probably
have
are, but
that
they
impression.
don't. Yeah, but they
but I don't
probably
think
don't
that's
understand that the AI cannot make anything on its own. It's literally mashing up things that already exist. So technically speaking, like the AI can't really do it better because the artist is already supplying it. Oh my god!
there's sepia for you.
Why does some of this look like shit you'd see underneath a microscope?
I don't know.
Like
This
look
looks like a waterfall.
I think it is a waterfall. That one. That's a lake next to it.
Yeah, this one looks like a pond.
Yeah, pond, lake.
This
It's
looks
water.
like the sky. I think this is just
Yeah.
random
Those are just gardens.
images of gardens.
Yeah, I think it is just garden. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I guess that would make sense if you're like typing in sepia, because a lot of people would be taking pictures of gardens and putting it into sepia.
Yeah.
And old photos exist of gardens that would be in sepia.
Sepia. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's what happens when you type in sepia into Darling Mini, everyone.
Mm-hmm. Curiosity fulfilled.
Curiosity fulfilled in fucking need.
I'm gonna grab this donation from
Yeah,
the
go
next
ahead.
6 minutes, who donated $3.14 to say, looking forward to owning a copy of your book. We'll send you a copy of mine. Here's to many more years of awesome content from one of my best friends on this weird and wacky internet frontier. All the high fives, weebs. Buy Weebo's books, y'all, and sub. They're not even. I haven't even written the actual book itself. I've just written the lore and the plots. I haven't actually put it to an actual book. I'm actually 1,200 words behind today.
Jesus.
Well, no,
You're
no,
way
sorry.
more hardcore into that than I am. Oh my god. making me
I was
making me
supposed
feel bad
to.
about shit.
I was supposed to write 1,200 words today, and I did not do that. So
That's fine. I've been meaning to draw comic pages for like 3 days now. Still haven't.
Mhm.
Whoops. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so I am in need of ending the stream because I
Okay.
need to go do the rest of my shenanigans for the rest of the evening. I
Yeah,
just
fair
wanted to do a 2-hour YouTube anniversary thing, and I'm glad that I managed to basically blather on for 2 hours with your help for
Yeah, no problem.
to entertain at least 20 people. So
Maybe a few more after the stream is ended. Who knows?
indeed, yes. Thank you for joining me, Far, and thank you for having this conversation with me. I deeply appreciate you taking the time to do so.
No problem.
Mhm.
Like I enjoyed the conversation too, honestly.
Right, and we should talk more often.
yes. Oh
Straight
my
up.
God, we probably should. Yeah.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lizard people of all ages, I have been Weebo. This has been Far, and happy YouTube anniversary to myself. I don't know
happy
when I'm going to
anniversary,
do
Weebo.
another live stream, but I'd like to do more of these. These are be fun, just random streams where I talk nonsense and then maybe have a guest or so to talk nonsense with. That'd be fun. That'd be a good time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna end the broadcast now. You guys have a good rest of your evening, and I hope you have a good weekend. So I'll see you when I see you next, ladies and gentlemen.
Later.
Peace. End broadcast.